Robertson. Oh, she's a heck of a lot of fun, Jeanne Robertson.
Well, hey everybody, this is Jeanne Robertson. I'm just making a mess here already. It looks like it, but I'll just sit on that Kleenex. And welcome to my back porch here in North Carolina. We're here every Saturday, and so many of you are so nice to join us. We had a great time last week. Is that me again? Oh, okay. Am I singing again? We have a little things to explain here today. We had a great time last week with Shonda Pierce. Many of you watched. As a matter of fact, when the rankings from Polestar came in for the year, for the world, for the week, we were in 7th place, which is amazing because the people in first place are folks like Grand Ole Opry or Country Music Awards, and they're hundreds of thousands ahead of what we had, but we had and I know Shonda helped pull those in. Everybody that we've had come has been outstanding. Today's going to put a lot of pressure on one particular person who's our guest. Let me give you a couple of logistical things today. On February the 19th, I will be at the Maddie Kelly Arts Center. That's at the Northwest Florida State College. I'll fly into I guess it's the Fort Walton, Destin, Fort Walton, all of that area, beach, airport. And the reason I mention it to you is tickets are selling. The COVID rules are in effect, and you can still sit with your date or your escort or your spouse or your family that night, but you won't be around other people, and they're selling the tickets well. Unfortunately, when the tickets start selling, we also have a lot of people in secondary markets who would love to sell you a ticket. And then later you write me and say, I thought you were very funny, Jeanne, but at $400 was just too much to pay. And it is too much to pay. The ticket prices are quite reasonable. So go to the site of the theater, and wherever they're telling you to buy the tickets, that's where you want to think about buying the tickets. And then if there's a problem and the show is rescheduled, those tickets will go. And if you can't come, in most cases, we found they'll give you the money right back. But don't go to a secondary market to get tickets. The next thing I want to announce is that, let me explain what's going on here. We have a screen in front of me. And when I do my pop-ups on Thursday night to invite all of you to come today for the show, I have a list of names. As you post, those names go by, and they keep going by. It's hard to look into the camera and also at the same time look at all the names. Like right now, the names go from top to bottom, starting with Pam Jones, going all the way down. They're moving, and they're moving very fast. So Thursday night, a couple of things happened, really 3 things. We had a little boy, 8 years old, named Tristan, and he wrote, my name is Tristan. I am 8 years old. My 12-year-old brother has a birthday today. He wanted me to say happy birthday. I didn't see that till the show was over, Tristan, and I apologize. I don't know your 12-year-old brother's name, but his birthday was Thursday, and happy birthday to whoever that little boy is. The same type of thing happened because all of a sudden when the show is over, there was Liz Curtis Higgs at the top of the names. She had been going along the entire time. Liz Curtis Higgs is our guest the last Saturday of this month. Many of you know who she is. Such excitement over her coming. But I didn't see that she was saying, oh, here, Jeanne, something about what you could do to promote my show. In the meantime, Tony was at home watching Thursday night, and she wrote me, Liz Curtis Higgs is on. Liz Curtis Higgs is on. But again, that the names were going by, and when I look down, and I may say, like right now, there's Sean Thompson, happy birthday. There's Linda Hudson. There's Sheila Mott. There's Kathleen. It goes on, but they're moving so fast that I don't see them. And so today we have a special person on the porch with us named Isley Johnson. Isley, not Isley, because her grandmother was Irish and they pronounce it Isley. I think it's beautiful. And she is the goddaughter of someone who is on the board all the time. As a matter of fact, when I go off, I go back that afternoon and I read all the comments That's why we pick up the trolls and quickly ban them, because we do that. And Tony's doing it during the show even. But the Isley is Sherry Harris's goddaughter. And you might not know this, Isley, but Thursday night, all of a sudden, I found that Sherry Harris had typed in, I did not see it when she happened it. She typed into Christine and Lee and said, well, she's ignoring me today. So I'm sorry about that, Sherry. I didn't mean to ignore you. I don't want your feelings to be hurt in any way, shape, or form. I think that'll make Sherry happy, Isley. I don't know. I think it will. Yeah, whatever. Let's see what else we've got today. And that is, we are on fast looking for the trolls. The people that get on and try to get your information by saying, I think you're beautiful. Will you please friend me so that we can communicate? Go. We block those people as soon as we can. Don't know why. As a matter of fact, Patrick says they're not even people. Sometimes they're machines. Patrick, is that right?
I'll explain.
Oh, okay. When you finally get introduced, is that what you're saying? So some of you have already heard the explanation, but people begin to say to me, well, I'll tell you before Patrick comes out here, this is our brand new green bag, grocery bag, that if you can see, these, we had 4 or 5 of these out here before, because we had been collecting all of your entries for prizes since last March. But now we're going to do this new every month. So today, being the first Saturday in the month, you can probably see there's just a few in there. So your odds of winning a prize are better. And I'm going to drive, this is only from this week's The People. This is the person right now in my hand has won their choice of one of my items, not the audio book. That's going to be one special giveaway in a little while. But in this particular one, you can choose a DVD, a regular book. Of course, you can download the book, but this one will come to you and you can hold it, do those kind of things. And the winner is the first prize today, Janice Womble Bass. Greetings from Surfside City Beach, South Carolina. Look forward to hearing all about Patrick's. So Janice, you have won the first gift right here. Janice Womble Bass, B-A-S-S. So I'm going to give away another one right now. Same thing. You can choose from all the prizes we have except the audio book and the audio book that's in CDs. And this winner is Catherine Carpenter Prentice, Prentice. Catherine Carpenter Prentice. Now, what y'all need to do is you need to write Tony in the back of the room there. Y'all switch and let Tony be seen. Tony, tell them where we are right now on the shipping and that kind of thing.
Any orders that come in today or tomorrow, we will get in the mail by Monday, and so they should make it before Valentine's, which would be the end of the week, Friday or Saturday. One other reminder, and we've said this before, but I know it is confusing to people. The ordering site, storejeannerobertson.com, is run by PayPal. At a point when you're ordering, it looks like you have to have a PayPal account to order. You do not. If you just click on that, you then are given the option of using any of the 4 major credit cards. So it's not hard. It's just that it is a little bit confusing there. And a lot of people don't have a PayPal account, which is fine. Either way. Okay.
So you're going to be up to speed if they get them out by Monday.
We'll put them in the mail by Monday if they come in today or tomorrow. I figure I can fill orders while watching the Auburn basketball game at 4:00 this afternoon. And then, of course, the Duke Carolina basketball game tonight will be on too. So plenty of entertainment there. But yeah, we'll get the orders out. And Jeannie will sign if I have to, make her sit down and do that immediately. Okay. We'll get them out.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you for that reminder. She talks about Auburn all the time, as we all do, and she loves Auburn. Tony, do you know Charles Barkley?
Only like you do.
Okay, thanks a lot.
From afar.
From afar. I love him. I just think he's going to be great if I can ever meet him. Okay, so now may I introduce our guest for today. is the one, the only, who is on every show trying. That's why Isley's here today, running the board over here. But Patrick is the person who puts us on, keeps us on, and we have gone from one cell phone to 3 or 4 cameras. We don't even know. I don't know what we're doing. Would you welcome, please, Patrick Henry? Yay! Yay! This is a big sound.
Usually I'm the other one clapping, so I'll give it.
But what we found out, Patrick, and we got more questions this week, even more than the famous people. You know what I mean by famous, the better known than either of us people, because they just didn't, they were floored that, and one of the questions was always,
did I have a life besides?
Did you have a life? And I can't remember who said, when this is over with the COVID, meaning the COVID, will you be able to help Patrick get into the speaking business? Patrick,
will you?
Yes,
I'd love to get into that business.
Patrick had to cancel all, well, he didn't. The conventions were totally canceled that you had booked last year. So tell us that they know you've been in Nashville. They know you live around the corner. One of the questions asked, just how did you fall in love with Tony? You didn't fall in love with Tony. You are married to Tony's daughter.
That's right. I do love Tony, though.
I know, of course we
so
all
yes, so this is a family experience.
Okay. So let me explain that to get it right. Here is Jeannie. Jeannie's married to Left Brain. We have a son, Beaver, with 2 grandsons. I went to Auburn. Tony, back in the back, whom you just heard from. Tony was at Auburn when I was at Auburn, and we both wound up in North Carolina in a small town in the South, Burlington. We love Alamance County. And Tony was married to another Tom, who's from Auburn. This is the Center family here. They had a son and a daughter, and their daughter, Leslie, married Patrick Henry. And Patrick Henry's family is also from Auburn. And I used to work with his daddy before he passed away. Your daddy passed away. But before that, I was partners with your daddy, Robert Henry, and 3 or 4 other speakers. And by partners, I mean, one of us would give a speech and we would recommend the other speeches. And we would take our children to the NSA. Well, why don't you take it from there? Where did you meet Leslie?
So Leslie and I met when we were 14 years old. You were president of NSA, National Speakers Association.
And I got to have the presidential suite.
The best presidential suite I've ever seen. It was actually a separate apartment, multi-floors, grand piano, its own swimming pool, and there's a speaker, a very well-known speaker named Jim Cathcart. His son Jimmy was a good friend of mine, and we used to pal around at the conventions because before the youth program, we just found other kids and hung out. Well, we heard there were girls in the presidential suite.
Oh, yeah.
And so
we took Leslie. We took Jeannie, my niece Jeannie. We
call her Little Jeannie.
Little Jeannie, that's right. We took them all. Yeah. And they soon found y'all.
And so we went and had a real interest in finding Andy, Leslie's younger brother.
Yes.
We were really looking for the girls. But anyway, that's where Leslie and I met, and we didn't date all this time. We reconnected later in life and got married not long after. Okay.
And now you got 2 dogs and how many children?
3 children.
Oh, gosh. and I go over there to eat, and they're just everywhere, you know.
The children and the dogs.
And the children and the dogs. So
I always say that if my dogs could talk, they'd say, "Let me in. We have to pee."
I know you can't put them out in the yard. But the Patrick's daddy was, Robert Henry was probably one of the funniest people you've ever seen.
He was funny.
He was funny. And he could just make a face like a Johnny Carson, could just deadpan, and people would laugh. And Patrick could look pitiful and look funny. And I even co-wrote a book with your daddy. And how the platform professionals keep on laughing. I'm not pushing the book there. Y'all got any more to say? Well, I don't have any more.
No, we're not pushing that book. No. But if you would like to buy something, go to store.JeanneRobertson.com.
Oh, no. Thanks a lot. So we all became really good friends. And then did you go to Auburn to school?
I did go to Auburn. It was a great year. I went to Auburn I grew up in Auburn, went to Auburn for a year, decided that I needed to go find myself. So I found myself out in Utah working at a ski resort. And then I went back to the University of Southern Mississippi where I graduated. That's where my dad graduated. And so.
Did you leave Auburn, or did Auburn suggest for you to leave?
Well, had I stayed any longer, I think they would have made that suggestion.
Okay. You got out while the getting was good. So when did you start playing the guitar? I thought it was high school.
Well, I played in bands in high school. I was hanging out with these guys. It was the skateboarding crowd. And my dad was very concerned about me hanging out with the skateboarding crowd. And I couldn't ride a skateboard. But they were starting a band. And they all played instruments. I didn't play an instrument. But I wanted to hang out with these guys because they were really cool. And so they said, "Who's going to sing?" And I said, "I'll sing." And they said, "You can sing?" And I had no idea if I could sing or not, but I wanted to be in a band. And so we started putting some songs together, and we played a few talent shows, and then we played a couple of parties, and we had a great time. And that's where I first got, that was my first experience on stage in that regard. But then I got to college, and that's when at Southern Miss, and one of my fraternity brothers had a guitar. And so he let me borrow it because he didn't play it that much. And so I got rid of my television and practiced and learned how to play the guitar. And so then I became the guy in the bars, playing music, which is what I always wanted to do.
Were you self-taught then? You don't have, are you a natural musician? Did
No.
you just pick it up?
Yeah, people ask me, did you take lessons? I think I took 2 lessons when I was 13, and they teach you scales and theory, which is wonderful. I still to this day don't know how to play lead. But when you're learning an instrument, regardless, or anything, you hang out with people who do it. And so I knew chords, and then somebody would do something on their guitar, and I'd say, "Oh, show me how you did that." And so I learned from other people, but I always wanted to be the guy playing and singing.
So if you were in college and you had this guitar and got rid of your television and all this kind of stuff, how did you ever graduate? Because it sounds like you didn't know how to play the guitar at all and by the college years, and then that's just where you learned. I just became aware that your daddy was saying, "Patrick's playing the guitar. He's in a band." Well, I didn't know.
Dad was very proud of that because he always told me he made his living as a professional speaker, as you know. I mean, as you mentioned, he was a humorist. He wasn't a comedian, but he often said, if it weren't for NSA and learning about the speaking business, National Speakers Association, he probably would have been doing comedy clubs. And so when I told him that I wanted to move to Nashville,
you had graduated from.
By this time I had graduated, but he was always very supportive, and he always in spirit. I had to get a job. But so when I had bands and we would play a lot of casinos, the 90s were a great time for clubs. You get booked playing in these country bars because I was a country singer. But by the time I got to Nashville, those country bars had kind of gone away, but casinos were really big. And so you could get hired at a casino and go work for a week or even 2 weeks at a time. They give you a place to stay and 1 buffet
a day.
But if you went at 11, you could stay until 2 and get your the full buffet experience. But Dad and Mom would come down to wherever we were playing, usually on the Mississippi Gulf Coast or some of the reservations. They all have casinos. And Dad would be sitting there just smiling from ear to ear.
And you were playing in the band. So I've heard you say the things you learned playing in a band, because they didn't turn their chairs like they do for speakers and listen politely all the time.
Not at our level.
No.
We were. You can either sell tickets or sell beer. We were selling drinks.
Okay, so the longer you could just keep them in there, it was that. Oh my gosh! And then,
but I was in my 20s. I wouldn't want to do it now.
Yeah.
But in my 20s, I couldn't think of any. I remember the first time we were loading in at a casino in Mississippi that eventually got blown away by the hurricane Katrina. But I remember it was down by the dumpsters, and it was Mississippi Gulf Coast, so there was a lot of dead shrimp and stuff. It just smelled horrible. And I remember Dad called me, and I picked up the phone. He said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm loading in all this gear by the dumpsters. It's wonderful. I could have a real job right now."
You could, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, we all say that in speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could have real jobs now. But then you went to Nashville and stayed how long?
I was there 10 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing?
So I was writing songs for a publishing company, making hundreds of dollars, and playing and just living life. I mean, once again, it was a great way to spend my 20s. Nashville was very easy to live in at the time. It was when I first moved there. I mean, it was like one of those stories you hear. I mean, I just packed my car up and headed to Nashville, and I found a roommate referral service. And there was a woman who her kids were all grown, and she was renting out rooms in her house. And her name was Alta Marsh. And so me and two other guys rented out rooms, and we had a ball. And by then, once I started working and meeting people, I met some guys my age, and we got apartments together. But it was a fun experience.
Now, they say everybody that goes to Nashville waits tables. That every waiter can play an instrument or sing or do anything like that. Is that the case?
I like to say, in order to get my job at the restaurant, I had to submit a 3-song demo.
Okay. So for 10 years, this is I
didn't wait table for 10 years. Okay, so let me back up. When I first moved there, I knew somebody through the speaking profession named Charles Whitnell. Charles promoted these big motivational speaking conferences with like Les Brown and who are some of the big Zig Ziglar and all those big names.
Oh, yeah.
And so I sold tickets. I went to an office every day and got on the phone. This is before the internet or before the internet was really used. And I called people up from a list and sold these tickets to these rallies. And I made decent money doing that. But everybody who was working in the office was old. They were like 40. I was 22.
They could walk in there on their own.
Yeah. Amazing. And so I wanted to meet people my age. And so I met a guy in the recording studio who said, "You ought to go work at this restaurant called the Green Hills Grill." And so I went and interviewed and met some of my best friends to this day were waiting tables at the Green Hills Grill then, because everybody was a songwriter or a musician or somehow attached to the music business. There was a girl named Jen Cohen, amazing singer. She graduated from Yale, and she told me one time, she said, "You know what's interesting about the South?" I said, "What?" She goes, "No one cares that I graduated from Yale."
They care that she's in Nashville.
Yeah, that's right. Up north, that's a big deal.
That's a big deal. Graduating from Yale.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll see. We don't know who they're playing in basketball today. Who knows? But I wonder if any of them know Charles Barkley. You don't ever know where he gets around.
I was talking to Charles the other day.
Yeah,
he said,
you
"I wonder
were
if Jim
not.
ever asked me to be on this show."
No, right. Don't you dare. Somebody said they traced him. He lives in Arizona or somewhere like that. Tracking him down. I just think he's funny, and he always thanks the school that gave him a chance to play. And
I used to watch Charles Barkley. My dad and I would go to games when he played at Auburn, and
is that going to help me?
not a bit.
No, he didn't see you sitting in the stands doing those. Okay, so I want you to tell them about. We got to give away prizes, and then we got all these questions people sent. So you draw out a prize right there. And they quit blaming me. I used the back of the paper from a couple of weeks ago, and the question has a check on it. See it?
Okay.
What does it say? Who's the lucky winner?
Catherine Lee.
Leigh.
Lee. Catherine Lee.
Oh, Catherine Lee.
Should I read the comment?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I love Liz. She is so funny. Please get her to tell about her bathroom experience.
Oh yeah, I know the story you're talking about, but it's not.
I don't.
No. Okay, but wait, Catherine Lee wins a prize.
Yep.
Okay. So all right, you're drawing another prize.
Okay.
This is 4 we're giving away.
Let's see here. Bonnie Miller.
Does it say where she's from?
Yep, she's from Hodgenville, Kentucky, the birthplace of Abe Lincoln. Hodgenville, Bonnie Miller.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Tony, y'all, that you getting this down?
Got those 4.
Okay, and she can choose. They'll just write to Tony at JeanneRobertson.com. Tony ends in an I. Jeannie does not have an I. And tell us whether you want a book, DVD, whatever. And would you also say, Patrick, one of your Married Men CDs?
Oh, yeah.
How many do you have left now?
I've got 753 left. This is a comedy CD that I recorded, gosh, 8 or 9 years ago, or maybe more. No, probably about 10 years ago. Yeah, and it's just got a lot of funny songs and stories. And
People have been asking how they could purchase your CD. You want to tell them that now?
Sure. Now, I don't even know if you can still purchase on iTunes, but if you go to iTunes and put in Patrick Henry Married Man, you can download it. But if you want the CD, I know this isn't very high tech, but just email me, patrick@patrickhenryspeaker.com. Give me your phone number, and somebody will call you and get your credit card information. And yeah, it's really
Patrick,
funny.
did you notice that Patrick at Patrick Henry Speaker just popped up? Thank you, Isley.
Isley has been very good at learning
She's
what
walked in here.
took me a year.
All right, I'm going to do some more questions, and I want you to tell them about the Bluebird Cafe.
Okay.
Okay, because you were in the band traveling out of Nashville, but you were doing some other stuff in Nashville
Right.
too. All right, here's a question, Patrick, just for you. Mary Ellen Frances Little. Are you a storyteller like Jeannie, or if not, describe your public speaking style?
I'm not a storyteller like Jeannie, because one of Jeannie's talents, and that's very unique, is by the time you get to the punchline of her story, people are laughing so hard all along the way that the punchline is, I mean, you don't know because this is just the way you tell stories, but I've observed Jeannie for years, and by the time you get to the punchline, you're already laughing. It's a treat that there's actually a punchline. For me, I usually lead towards a punchline just because as a songwriter, we have a hook. When I write a song, I think of a fun idea or a hook, kind of a little turn of phrase, and then I write the song around it. And so it all kind of leads towards that.
So you repeat it, a recurring theme?
Right.
Okay.
It's a through line. As a speaker, I use humor, and I do a lot of funny songs in my presentation because my philosophy is as long as people are getting together, they might as well laugh.
Yeah.
But I find that a lot of speakers, there's been a shift in the meetings industry, and not the total decimation of it that we've experienced the last year, but I think there has been a shift away from, your classical humorists in light of these business speakers, business celebrities, I call them.
They think they're more important than I am.
They think they are.
I think so.
But the thing is, we hear these TED Talks, or we hear these people who have done something big, but they haven't necessarily developed the craft of speaking. So people, I think, get used to listening to a rather bland presentation.
Well, let me tell you, am I still out here, Isley?
Yes, ma'am.
Because if not, I can come over here. There was a guy named John Palmer from Chicago, and he would sit in the back of the room, and when he heard you tell a story, he would start a timeline, and he would put down 0, 0. And then you go along telling your story, and if the people chuckled, he went up a little bit. And then if they laughed a lot, he would go way up and come back down. And when you finished your story, he would give you that piece of paper. And sometime I would hear him say to people, you went 3.5 minutes before you got a laugh. Not good enough.
Mm-mm.
And then he said, you got to have it, Bill. And if you listen to the baton story, there's a huge ending line, but it's a 17-minute story. So, I mean, I'm getting into speaking and that kind of thing, but I got that from John Palmer. I think he kept saying, look, you can't go this long. It's called a shaggy dog story. You get way over here and you finally get a laugh. And so, but you want to have laughs all the way through the stories.
And if they weren't funny at all, he'd hand them a piece of paper with just a line that says, you're dead.
He was, let's say he was tough on people. All right. All right, there's that.
Well, I
question.
think, as a speaker, I would not want to give a speech unless I was making people laugh.
I couldn't.
No. And so, but usually all of my stories lead to a song. And one thing that our friend Lou Heckler taught me is that everything you put in your presentation needs to have purpose. So even if I have a funny song about my kids, somehow it's tied back to a point. And so I can't think of a better way to make a living when.
No, we're very lucky.
When it's
Let's
happening.
do another question. And these are the questions that y'all sent in. See, look at the names going on and on and on. Now you stop it, Tony, if you see something that we. Ann Krause, you think she's kin to Allison?
I don't know. I know Allison. You too.
Yeah. Did you room with her brother?
No, I roomed with his brother's wife before they were married.
Oh, I don't want to know.
No.
And before you were married.
Right, before I was married. Leslie has a firm rule. I'm not allowed to date. But no, when I lived in Nashville, one of some of the people that I met at the restaurant, we started living in this yellow house, and as roommates would rotate out, others would rotate in. After a while, I realized that I was living with two females at Three's Company, and one of their one of their grandmothers would have been mortified.
Yeah.
Just rained. It's okay.
What is it, Tony? I heard the phone ring.
Nobody went to call.
Okay, so I had two female roommates. One of them was from Birmingham. I'm not going to mention her name because her grandmother would have been mortified if she knew she was living with a boy.
Yeah.
Now this is
you weren't living together.
We weren't living together. We were living in the
same
same house. So she told her grandmother that she was living in an upstairs apartment attached to the house. So whenever the phone would ring, this was before everybody had cell phones, her grandmother would call the house. If I answered, she would say, "Is so-and-so there?" And I'd say, "Let me go outside and get her." And so I'd act like I was walking upstairs outside the house.
Holy cow.
She was a Southern grandmother.
Well, of course. And she's
God love her.
pretty now. Okay, this is Nancy Davis. Was Nancy Davis Ronald Reagan's wife's name? I think she
Nancy
was
Reagan's name was Nancy Davis Reagan,
from
right.
Arizona.
I don't think she wrote it.
Probably not an unusual.
She did not write it.
That was not
No.
her. Okay.
Yeah, I'd be very nervous. Okay, this one is from San Antonio, Texas. My question is, what's the most interesting place you have spoken, Mr. Patrick?
Oh, well, I spoke in Cancun, Mexico 3 times in 1 year.
I remember this.
Yeah.
Leslie went once.
Yeah, she went once. It's the hottest place I've ever been. And I always get, because I was speaking to it was a company who owned properties throughout the Caribbean. And so I was doing their managers meeting, and I spoke to one, and then another group heard about me. And so, which is the way this business works, is you develop a reputation within certain industries. So I went down to Cancun, and it was a beautiful resort, and they stuck me here by the beach. Well, the meeting room was way over here, and I had to walk across in my suit with a guitar on my back. And by the time I got to the meeting room, I am drenched through my suit. And although everybody spoke English, English was their second language. And I don't care how slow I spoke, I did not speak slow enough. And so it was, but it was a fun experience just because, of course, my mother was convinced that I was going to be taken by the cartel.
Who knows? All right, I'm putting Nancy in there for the prizes and so forth. Okay, let me ask you another question. These are the ones they sent. There's some good ones. All right. This is from Pamela Smith Holt. Patrick, please put My Name is Anna on YouTube. You got to update your YouTube.
Call me Anna.
Call Me Anna. That's the name of it. It's one of my favorites from Griffin, Georgia. And I'll tell you something, Pamela. It's one of my favorites too. Will you tell them the story?
I'll do
sing it for
yeah,
them?
absolutely. I will do that. Thank you for asking. So, when I first moved to Nashville, and looking back, I've got a 19-year-old son, Jack, and if he told me in a couple of years I want to move to Nashville and try to make it, I would have a heart attack. I mean, I can't believe that I did that. but that's just always been my thing. When I was 17 years old, I graduated high school and went straight down to Florida and worked at a hotel. And then I took time off from college to find myself.
Yeah.
And I moved to Utah and worked at a ski resort. And then, you know, I've always been that guy who just went. And I didn't think about the you know, challenges. But I was in the recording studio recording some demos. And the engineer said, let's go grab some lunch. And I, okay, great. So we went to this place. It was off West End. There was a nursing home. It was a high-rise nursing home. And it's long gone because that's prime real estate now. But in the bottom floor was the cafeteria. And they opened the cafeteria up to the public for lunch. And
At an assisted living nursing home.
yeah, a nursing home.
You could go in there and eat.
For $3.99, you could get what we call in the South a meat and three. So you could choose one meat and 3 vegetables. And so, and they had, you know, fried chicken and roast beef and, you know, anything you'd find in a Southern buffet.
Wow.
And so I went there quite often, you know, 2 or 3 times a week because it was cheap. And I always say, if you're going to go to a nursing home, if you stay long enough, somebody's going to wheel up to you. And so there's a woman named Anna who, hi, Mom. I can see your comment. She finally learned how to comment.
What did she say?
She said, I'm loving this. Your mom.
There it is.
But
This is your mom.
that's right. There she is.
Okay.
Picture with she and my brother. So anyway, I go to this cafeteria and Anna would wheel up. And she was an older woman and we'd talk. And, you know, I always enjoy talking to people. And every time that I would leave when it was time to go, she'd put her hand on top of mine and she'd say, thanks for seeing me. Mm. And as I've said before on this show, at the time, I thought that was just kind of a Southern thing people say, thanks for seeing me. But looking back, I think it was more like, thanks for being present with me. Thanks for noticing. And so I wrote a song about
Don't
Anna.
cry. I always tear up when you sing
Well,
it. It's a great song.
You want me to sing it?
Yes,
Okay.
I want you to sing
Well,
it. That was requested more. I can tell you exactly which songs they requested, but Call Me Anna was requested quite often.
okay. Well, that makes me feel good because
Maybe because a lot of my people are my age.
Well, speaking of age, while we're getting there, a lot of people want to know how old Patrick is. Someone said he must be older than I thought. I don't know whether that's going to be good or bad.
no, that's okay. I'm 49. So
When's your birthday, Patrick?
June 23rd.
You know, we'll have to.
If anybody's taking notes.
The big 50.
Bean casserole over here.
And his wife will be right behind him.
That's right. I married a younger woman. She's 2 months younger. So this is called Call Me Anna. She said, I have not heard my name in years. They call me Grandma or Mother dear. I guess somehow it's been lost with age. I've been tucked away like a songbird in a cage. They seem afraid to grasp my hand or look me in the eyes. They don't understand the loneliness I feel inside. Call me Anna, stroke my hair, take me dancing, take me anywhere. Sing me a song, I'll sing you one back. Let's put pennies on the railroad track. Let's walk barefooted in the rain. Call me Anna, that's my name. These haven't always been a grandma's hands. She said they once held dreams, they once held a man. Our memories live in pictures on the walls. I'm tired of living in the past. I'm tired of walking down these halls. Call me and stroke my head. Take me dancing, take me anywhere. Sing me a song, I'll sing you one back. Let's put pennies on the railroad track. Let's walk barefooted in the rain. Call me Anna, that's my name. Let's walk barefooted in the rain. Call me Anna, that's my name.
Wow. Wow. Yay.
Thank you. Now, let me just say this, and I used to do this, like sometimes I'll speak for groups that have a connection to assisted living or something like that. And I made the mistake of not setting it up properly because this song is meant to be a reminder to stay connected to the people in your life and don't just assume that everybody's doing fine, that we can still stay connected, especially now during the pandemic where people can't connect. It's important to make that extra effort. I did a few speeches where I didn't set it up that way, and I found that it just made people sad.
Well, it makes me sad because it is a reminder. I love the song.
Thank you.
When I hear that song and so many of your others, I hate to say this. Do you ever have people say, "Why aren't you more famous?"
All the time. My mother asked me that all the time. Why are you not rich by now?
Well, I'm helping Jeannie. She's doing this little show on her back porch.
That's right.
So you got to have to tell them how you got from Nashville to Burlington.
Yeah, well,
Because as everybody says, if you want to make it in Nashville, you have to be in Nashville.
well, and that's partly true. But I never made any significant money in the music business until I left Nashville. So I lived in Nashville. Leslie and I actually reconnected at a speaking convention in 2003. It was yes, you were there.
On the
because
street.
Me and some other young speakers were walking down Bourbon Street.
Young.
And at the time we were in our early 30s.
No, I'm talking about compared to me.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
Single people tend to find each other. Like when I was working for a record company, I travel all over the country working these trade shows in New York, LA, Miami, all these the big markets, Chicago. And so all the people in their early 20s, we'd find each other. And so we'd see each other at different parts of the country and we'd hang out. It's a lot of fun. So we were walking down Bourbon Street and I see Jeannie and Jerry.
Jerry is left brain.
Left brain, excuse me. And Tony. And Leslie was pushing Jack. And he was, how old was he, Tony? Two. He was 2 at the time. And so pushing him in a stroller. And I said, hey, we're going to Pat O'Brien's. Come with us. And
I thought you were inviting all of us.
No. Well, even if I were, that wasn't going to happen because Leslie never stopped walking. She just let go of the stroller, left brain swooped in, and we were gone. And it wasn't long after that I'm thinking, probably ought to go break up with my girlfriend because Leslie and I had this connection. And
I'll never forget because walking down Bourbon Street, pushing Jack in a stroller, were Leslie and Jack, Tony, Left Brain, and Jeannie. 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, Leslie just walked away with you and your crowd. And you're right. Left Brain just went in, got the thing, and as we were walking back to the hotel, he said, "Did you see how quickly a 5-some became a 4-some?" We said yes. And then, of course, y'all got married the next year.
Well, it was funny because I remember we were at Pat O'Brien's, which is it's known for this dueling pianos and the singing. And I remember we were at the sidebar at one point later. And then there's this guy, I had gone to the bathroom, I came back and there's this guy hitting on Leslie pretty aggressively. And so I realize I'm a big guy, and so sometimes it can escalate faster than
Yeah.
And so I had to come up with a way to
I
get
heard
him.
this,
No,
yeah.
and I put my hand on his shoulder, and he kind of looked at me, and I said, "You want to get away from my wife?"
Oh.
Now you can't argue with that.
No.
But if I had said, "You want to get away from this woman that I was reconnected with after many years,"
it wouldn't have worked.
it was foreshadowing.
People they don't know who Jack is.
Jack is my stepson.
They wondered who Leslie was pushing in the story.
That's right.
Yeah.
He is now a sophomore at
We
NC
didn't just
State
pick up a
University.
stray child.
So they knew each other. Leslie married somebody else because y'all weren't even dating. You just knew each other from the speakers convention. I'm sure she would have chosen him.
I'm sure.
But then Jack, and then the baby, and what did you call him?
Right. I call him, his name is Jack. We have nicknames for each other. I call him Jackaroo. He calls me, "You're not my real dad. You can't tell me what to do." Of course, now that he's in college, he just calls me when he wants money.
I know. You're exactly right. Or a car.
Well, we've already given him 2 cars. And the rule in our family is when you wreck 2 cars, you don't get a third.
That's right. You ask your friend Jeannie to loan him
That's right.
left brain's car since left brain can't drive anymore.
That's
It's
right.
an interesting world. Okay, here's another question from Helen Laffey Condrick. I had the pleasure of listening to Patrick's song on Saturday about his cowboy boots. I loved it. So Patrick, is it a true story? Do you really have the boots?
I really have the boots. These are not the boots.
No.
The
Can you believe someone would question that one of us would tell a story that is not a completely true story? I am offended. You should be.
Her name wasn't even Anna. It was Gertrude.
I
That
know.
doesn't sing well.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's a true. I still have the boots, and they have duct tape on the bottom where the hole is. And I mean, it was one of the truest songs I wrote.
That's amazing.
I mean, it was.
Well, how long is it? Do we have time to do it today? Did you do it last week?
I did it last week.
Okay. We'll wait.
But that's up on YouTube as well.
Okay. And then what's it called? These
Boots.
boots.
Yeah, just Patrick Henry Boots.
Okay.
And by the way, if you go to my YouTube channel, Patrick Henry, youtube.com/Patrick Henry humorist, because the other Patrick Henry stole all my search engine optimization.
Okay.
Subscribe to my channel because I'd love for you to get updates.
I'll tell you what, this has been, Tony, you got a question?
One more personal type question. They want to know how tall you are because they can't really tell. You're usually sitting down.
I'm 6'4".
And we
She
think
wanted
that's
to say you can't tell because she's standing near Jeannie and
since-
she's so large that we don't know.
well. They also a question asked, were you or Patrick taller? Well, he's obviously taller than you, but you're both very tall, especially for people who are 5 feet nothing,
Nothing.
as Leslie and I are.
Yeah, I married. I'm 6'4". Leslie is 5 feet tall, so she says.
Yeah, right. I think she's
And
lying
I'll
a
tell
little.
you, that's irritating to a tall woman.
Well, let me
Or
tell you.
every tall woman who's out there can agree. We always would say, that's not fair.
And
But
I
love
would.
Leslie.
No, of course. And Leslie is 5 feet tall. So I've had this experience more than once where I've been talking to a tall woman, and if I'm on the road, I quickly bring up my wife, and then I mention something about her being 5 feet tall, and the look of anger. It's anger. How dare she snatch a tall one?
Oh, I know. And when Left Brain and I started dating, he said I was the first tall person he'd ever dated. That he liked the short ones that were just cuter. But then
that's true because I've met a lot of people who he did date,
I know.
and they were all 5 feet tall.
And I
So
think little bitty people.
You're right.
Oh, well, that's enough on that. So let me ask you another question. We'll give some more prizes. And how are we doing on time? We had a clock and we put
you
it
got
out.
about 10 more minutes.
How many?
10.
Oh, I thought you said
But they've
4.
already been requested that you just ignore that and keep
Okay.
going.
This is a great question. Question for Patrick. Of your 3 children, because when y'all got married, the marriage pictures, we were all there in Auburn on 9/11
Yep.
when we did it. But not the 9/11, but it didn't have a home football game. And so
That's
you
right.
cannot have a marriage in Auburn on a football weekend.
Well,
you can't get to the church.
You could, but neither of my mothers would have come.
Oh, that's
My
true.
mother-in-law or mother.
Okay, of your 3 children, and Jack was just a baby, so I won't even go into what you have played a major role. I can guarantee you, Jack appreciates and loves you. Of the major role of your 3 children, which one is most like you? And I know 3. I'm starting to laugh already. Are you doing anything to direct that child in ways to maximize his or her potential? And this came from, I don't know whether Jeanne Black it's spelled Gene.
Yeah.
But that would be a man.
Yeah.
But for some reason, don't know whether maybe it's a woman, but
Jean is
under his name.
Jean is on today, so maybe they'll tell us.
Well, but if sometime you have a computer name with one spouse that you both use. So I don't know, but Jeanne Black sends a lot of questions about speaking, writing stories, do this. By the way, I cannot read the questions, but trust me, we go back, we read to take the trolls off, but we also read because I like to see who's written what. So Jeanne Black from Anniston, Alabama, somebody sends a lot of speakers.
So the question was in my head, who's most like me? Robert, my 10th grader, looks like me. And when he was a toddler, our pictures were indistinguishable. But that's where it stops. He's organized, he's neat, I think he takes after my father-in-law in that regard. And he does not like attention. He used to get so angry because he's adorable. And he used to get so angry when he was younger when these little girls would express interest in him. And he'd be like, I can't stand her. But why not? Well, he was embarrassed that anybody would give him attention. Me, I didn't receive a lot of attention like that. And so I was
but he got some attention one night. Isley, do you remember you came over to their house to eat? And you're older than Robert, of course, but you play soccer.
Yeah.
And he played soccer. And y'all got out and were playing soccer in the side yard. I loved it.
Yeah.
So, and then Meredith.
Meredith is more like me in the regard that she's a ham. She enjoys not necessarily being on stage, but she's a cheerleader and she enjoys the attention.
She was in a couple of Jeannie's early quarantine videos.
Right, she was a little girl, the TikTok tick.
Where I poured water on her head.
That's right.
Let me just say this. Up there, Ashley, am I looking him right in the eye?
Yes, ma'am.
Tony's name is Tony Meredith. She married Tom Meredith. They were at Auburn down there together at the same time and all that. So Leslie always said, if I have a little girl, I'm going to name her Meredith. But one would think, since I am the person who, with your daddy, started the youth program at the National Speakers Association and made it possible for the 2 of you to know each other, that when you had a daughter, you might have included the name Jeannie somewhere in her name.
You would think that.
Meredith Day Henry is not anywhere near Jeannie that I can hear. I have, fortunately, my sister named the child Jeannie, but I just always thought the entire time she was pregnant, I was thinking she's going to name this little girl but Jeannie.
You would think after
13
almost
years.
13 years,
you
would let it go by now. Well, keep in mind, my mother and my mother-in-law both named Marilyn.
That's right.
Small detail.
That's going to really confuse them now.
I know.
I know, because Tony's real name is Marilyn. Okay, but there's so many things. When the COVID started, you couldn't get together. And of course, I think everybody knows Left Brain is very sick and doing the best he can do, and we're dealing with everything we can with him. But so they decided, we had always had Christmas and Thanksgiving with them, one of the meals that you have at Christmas and Thanksgiving. And so we felt like we were in their families. And so we started going over and eating. We'd have a limited number of people because we don't want to break a COVID rule, and we'd separate and everybody would eat. And I kept offering to bring the green bean casserole. And that offer is still I messed up one time. I forgot to cook it, took it cold. I understand that. But I was going to put it in your microwave, but your mother had her things in the microwave. So it was just cold, uncooked beans and stuff like that. But I would think
It's
after
like a
so
pilot
many
saying, I was
years,
going to land,
I
but
know.
decided to nosedive into the ground.
Tony, was it as bad as everybody says?
That green bean casserole, yes.
You've redeemed yourself since then.
But that's okay. You cooked real green beans and they were wonderful. And of course your baked beans are to die for. So we let you cook every once in a while.
If I go over there and watch the Super Bowl,
Hey,
am I
they don't let-
included in the count for the Super Bowl?
We're in,
No
but
big party.
no, not a party. But they don't let me cook either. So hey, do we really mind?
Well, I think we're lucky. Okay. All right, here's another question. This bucket has many more questions. 2 questions. I put this one right here. Okay. Barbara Carnegie. And this is not spelled I-E at the end. This is spelled C-A-R-N-A-G-E-Y. Patrick, what do you do pre-back? Did you do anything pre-back porch? Well, you've told that. You've answered that.
My whole life has led me to this chair.
So it's not that tough a job, is it, Isley? You just walked in here this afternoon with your collegiate sense, and look, she's just taking over, pushing things up. So I think he sort of answered that, Barbara, but you've done lots of things. Now you may be up at, don't get into it, but you may be into a startup. So.
Oh, yeah.
No,
We'll talk about that later.
Okay, that'll be another. Okay, Annette Hoogadorn. Hoogendorn. Okay, Patrick, which pet peeve did you pass on to your children? What is your top pet peeve? And I'm asking from South Dakota. And if you don't know it, the rest of us do. Tony and I know it.
Well, I guess, I'm sure Leslie would be better equipped to tell what pet peeve I've passed on, but I know that I am not the cleanest person in the world.
No, that's not it.
Okay.
You don't finish projects, that's not it. That's not it.
Little shiny things.
So we've got something in our house called the bright shiny object syndrome. Leslie will tell the story about how she'll come home from work or whatever and see a bush half trimmed with the trimmer sitting on the ground, and I'm in the backyard doing something else. I get distracted very easily.
I know, but that's not. Are you a hypochondriac?
No, but my mother is.
And your mother is. If she comes,
Oh, my shoulder hurts. Must be cancer.
let's go. We must go to the hospital now.
He has one mother, a mother who's a little bit hypochondriac, and a mother-in-law who
Just says rub some dirt on it and keep going.
I know it. That's Tony. She said, "No, you're not. We're not getting. Nobody's getting sick today. Forget it. Forget that."
Yeah.
don't have time for that.
3 minutes, 2 minutes left. Oh dear.
We can keep going a
Okay.
little bit.
We got to give away. No, we have to give away. This is the way we promote it. And don't forget, you're getting a percentage of this.
That's right.
So we got to promote it. This is the, there's 4 ways you can get my book. You can buy the book. You can download the version of the book.
Like a Kindle version of
Yeah,
the
Kindle
printed
version of the book.
from Amazon.
You
That's on
can
Amazon.
just download the book.
That
And
you reading
can
the book.
Store Jeanne Robertson, and you can just do that. That's a little cheaper than this one, which y'all said you wanted, and you are certainly buying it. We didn't get but 1,000, but y'all are buying them. But this has 7 DVDs. It's 7 hours and 20 minutes. CDs rather. And we Patrick and I did this in the closet upstairs. We did it ourselves in the closet. It's very well packaged and done well. And so we're going to give away one of these. If you don't, or if you're not interested in an audio version of me reading the book, ad-libbing and so forth, then you can tell Tony that you'd rather have a book or something, or Patrick's CD, and of course they can call you and get. But if you wanted to do something else, a lot of people are buying it and taking it out to assisted living or nursing areas. That's not that I don't like the nursing home term, but to places where folks have not been out of their place that they're living since last March, And this is a great thing that they could sit and listen, take it somewhere. And we have people that are doing that. We didn't think about that till a few weeks ago.
Well, and what I'm really excited about, in addition to the audiobook, because a lot of people, we didn't think that people wanted CDs anymore, and we were wrong. A lot of people said they want the actual CD because they still have CD players in their cars. But we also have the downloadable version. You can download to your phone or your iPad and listen to it. And that's also at store JeanneRobertson.com. Just click on the download tab, and you're going to see
it's cheaper than
it's cheaper. And when you do that, you're going to see it's going to take you to a company called Magic. And don't be worried about that, because it's a reputable company. Our friend Dan Huff started and owns it. And
they talk like we do.
They do, yeah. And his wife is a big fan. And,
smart people.
But anyhow, so it's a great way to get the book and the product.
So. Here, I'm gonna draw the name. Well, I guess this came out of the question bucket right here. I don't know whose name that is, and I'll be accused of doing that. So I'm gonna reach in here, Tony, the green bag. We're getting close to our ending time, and here is a name, and the name is Ellen Baber Hartsaw. And the Hart is HARTSAW. Ellen Baber Hartsaw.
B-A-B-E-R.
Yes. Ellen, ELLEN. You get what you pay for. BABER Hartsaw. So Ellen, congratulations. And if you don't have a CD player and don't want this thing that we poured our life and soul into,
or at least we poured
then
our
we'll be glad to send you the regular book.
But Ellen's going to need to email Tony.
Yep. TONI@JeanneRobertson.com.
Yeah.
I have so many more questions about you, and I'm
not going anywhere. So
a lot of people want Patrick back for a second rendition of the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll say what we do in that case is we save the questions that were not pulled. We put them in a Ziploc bag, and we write Patrick on it, Karen Mills on it, Shonda Pierce on it, so that if they ever come back, we start with some questions. And then we ask for more questions. This really worked well because with the snow, we've gotten mixed up, and we always were saying we were holding you till we didn't have anybody.
I was the reserve.
No, you were fantastic, Patrick. Thank you I'm in front of everybody. I just want to say thank you for helping us even do this every week. It's great.
This is a lot of fun.
It's fun.
Like you mentioned, we started off with me just holding the camera, just you, me, a camera, and a snake.
I know.
And, it's grown.
It's time for March, April, the snakes will be back. Isley, thank you for doing this for us. You make Elon look good. You make yourself look. You just walked in here right before we started and never done this. And bingo. Yeah. Maybe what you're doing is not as tough.
Yeah, I think you should tell them what's going to be next week, since it's a little different.
Okay, let me do that real fast.
And maybe even we're running a little over, but Patrick could sing one more quick song.
Okay, which one do you want to sing, closing it out?
I could do the prayer chain song.
Okay, that's fine with me since your mother's watching.
Yeah.
You get ready on that. Next week, this is an idea we're going to try. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but there's a woman named Suzanne Smith in town, and she has a blog. And you've heard of these people that get millions of blogs. She doesn't have millions of people on it yet, but she's got a lot of followers. And I was at the Arts Council in Graham at the Captain White House having a book signing, and I picked up a piece of paper, and it said that another way they were raising money was that Suzanne Smith would be there to teach them how to do charcuterie boards, the boards with the food on that you would take to a party, or take if you had to take hors d'oeuvres or that kind of thing. And I always love eating those if somebody else brings them, but we haven't been going to many events with the COVID. But anyway, they showed pictures of this thing. And so I called her. She lives right here in the county. And so next week, she's going to give us some quick tips on how to put these charcuterie boards that I get
You
right.
got it.
I know it.
Amazing.
Charcuterie boards together. Look it up if you have not ever heard of these. This is food on it. We will have the following people who will be at the big table spread out. We're going to put a couple more leaves in it to be COVID safe. And they will each be able to choose like 10 or 12 items to make their boards. And we will have a competition of the best boards to be made. The people are Norma Rose, my bestest friend. Jeannie, I'm going to make one of these. I've never made one of these before in my life. This is all under super. We'll say, go now. You have so many minutes to do this. We'll have the camera. Then we have Leslie Henry, your lovely wife.
That's right.
Then we have
Kelly.
Kelly McKinney. Kelly McKinney came and helped us one day. Her husband, Freebird McKinney, was with her, and we made him get on and speak a few minutes. He was North Carolina Teacher of the Year at that time. And I thought he did a good job. And I think one other person, and we will make, you may not steal from each other. You may trade food with each other. You have to select your food. We'll say, go, make it. And we'll have a big microphone in the center of the table. And it just seems like it's going to be a lot of fun or a total mess.
Well, and Suzanne's going to teach.
She's going to show us how to tell us the things like you got to have pickles are green, you need red, you need this. You can have 5 cheeses, 3 to 5 cheeses. You got to have crackers. You got to have.
Don't give away everything.
I know it. No. So all this different stuff. And so, and we just to be having regular conversations, just like the people in your neighborhood would be doing if and like I said, if these women are not funny, this thing's going to flop. But I kind of think it's going to be fun.
I think it is too. It's going to be different.
And then the next week I'll be in Niceville, Florida, and then for that show, and I will do the show from the airport. I will do a show from the airport. I might interview some people at the fly and say, "Do you want to be on a show?" And then the following week we have Liz Curtis Hicks. So why don't you take us out with the Baptist prayer chain?
Well, this is a song that I wrote, and I see Amy Walker Smith on, and little Jeannie's on right now. But anyhow, so I wrote this song in honor of my mother and her friends.
Okay.
I grew up in a Southern Baptist church, and Southern Baptists have it's not just Southern Baptists, but they use a prayer chain. And they use a prayer chain well. And so I wrote this song for them. There's a tie that binds us out together. It's there for you if you're in distress or pain. It goes on and on forever. It's the washed in the blood, pray for your brother. All saints lifting up each other. John 3:16, praise Jesus. Southern Baptist Church prayer chain. It's there for you at most any hour. Healing's but a phone call away. No escaping from the wonder-working power of the washed in the blood, pray for your brother. All saints lifting up each other. John 3:16, praise Jesus. Southern Baptist Church prayer chain. If the best friend's nephew's doing time, or the bunco group drinks too much wine, church ladies hit the phones, then hit their knees. From indigestion to insurrection, it's a hedge of heavenly protection. From washed in the blood, pray for your brother. All saints lifting up each other. John 3:16, praise Jesus. Southern Baptist Church prayer chain. Sunday night church service is over. Dawn breaks and the morning calls begin. By the time the second cup of coffee's down, the dragnet spread across the town. Washed in the blood, pray for your brother. All saints lifting up each other. John 3:16, praise Jesus. Southern Baptist Church prayer chain. Did you hear that Francine's husband left her? Miss Vogel passed to the hereafter. Ruby's daughter's in the family way. Frank's grandson got caught smoking pot. Bob Slocum's best bird dog got shot. For all these things, dear Lord, we humbly pray. The good word says we must bear witness, even if we're in each other's business. Our Christian duty demands faithfulness. After all, it's not gossip if it's a prayer request. From the washed in the blood, pray for your brother. All saints lifting up each other. John 3:16, praise Jesus. Southern Baptist Church prayer chain.
All right. And Marilyn Henry, I know you're happy about that. We had a lot of show and tell we didn't do, including Debbie Houghton, and I'm going to tell all about that next week or the week after. Donna, why did I say Debbie? Ashley, thanks for helping us out.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to buy my CD, just email me at patrick@patrickhenryspeaker.com. Leave your phone number. We'll have somebody from our office, probably me, calling you to get your credit card information.
Real big operation here.
Got to sound big. But thank y'all very much. And Ashley, you did a great job.
Don't you think this would be great if you call and talk to Patrick? I bet you Tony will mail it out for you.
Yeah.
Of
and
course.
you may want to buy my book too. Give you a good deal.
Incidentally, for next week's show, everybody seems to think that Norma Rose is going to win. And I'm not sure that's going to happen. What do you think?
Well, I wanted you in that too, and then you said you had to do the computer.
Well, somebody needs to keep you all in tow here.
Well,
keep it moving.
It's going to be interesting, but just all of us, we have to stay separated. We got to do the food. We got to eat, and you're not supposed to eat it off of your own tray while you're fixing it.
Can you eat off someone else's?
That may be the problem. Y'all look it up. Charcuterie.
You're doing great.
No, that's not right.
No, it is right. Charcuterie.
Charcuterie.
Now, a week ago, she was going shakukuki. Shakukuku.
Hey, y'all. Thanks a lot. You got a button to push Ashley and get us out of here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Do you hear
I
this?
love it. She has such great manners.
Somebody brought her up right.
All right.
We'll see y'all next week.